stay on 2-shot. I'll go to full screen and remind Larry not to jump his cue.
It's a few minutes before 6 o'clock.
Well, he's our local Walter Cronkite for sure.
Larry, do not jump your cue.
And Larry Beaulieu is about to do what he's done almost every weeknight for decades.
He is an icon of the station, and he just projects, KFDM to the community and shows that we really care.
Mic check again, Larry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 6.
Something he's done, in a conservative estimate, more than 10,000 times.
Beaumont wouldn't be Beaumont without Larry.
Stand by.
I'm Larry Beaulieu. Good evening.
He'll anchor the evening newscast.
When I'm out in the community, people ask about him, but they ask about him like he's a part of their family.
I think to the community, Larry's a broadcasting icon. He's Uncle Larry.
Investigators.
Larry Beaulieu has come into the homes of Southeast Texans for 37 years and guided a successful television business for 28. But this will end.
I asked him one time when we were greeted at a restaurant I think it was in LaGrange. I said, "What's the strangest place you've ever been recognized?" And he thought for a minute, and he said, at Heathrow Airport in London.
Larry Beaulieu is stepping down from the anchor desk and retiring from his role as general manager, as the leader of the KFDM television station. This is his story, at least part of it. This is his life in broadcasting.
Join us now for a one-of-a-kind story of a broadcaster and community leader through conversations with the people who know him best. Larry Beaulieu, A Life in Broadcasting.
An 18-year-old Larry Beaulieu knew he liked electronics. He had built and transmitted over ham radio since junior high. So the college freshman at Texas Tech University in the fall semester of 1965 declared an electrical engineering major.
And some friends of mine, guys that I grew up with, they thought it'd be a really for some reason, they thought it was a great idea that I ought to go over there and audition because I had a deep voice, I guess. And so and sort of on a dare, I went over there on a Saturday morning, and they were a few people, not many, in the lobby of that little 10-watt radio station. And basically everybody that showed up got a board shift or an opportunity to run a control board and make silly announcements on the air.
It was an opportunity that would shape the rest of his life. He broadcast over the low-watt campus radio station.
So all I did, once an hour, would say, "This is KTXT FM, Lubbock, Texas." And I was like, am I going to get that right?
He got it right enough to land a job in commercial radio and soon earned a drive-time shift at a Lubbock country and western station. And there, the young disc jockey asked about the station's capability to broadcast remotely, live from a news scene.
So I said, well, do we have any old, it took a particular kind of radio to do that. And he said, yeah, there's one in that closet if you want to take it. So I got the radio and put it in my personal car. So on my off time with the police scanner, I'd run around, chase fires and wrecks and murders and mayhem and get to call in and, hi, this is me reporting live from the scene of whatever tragic thing was going on. So I got interested in news.
And that got another Lubbock station interested in him. Only this station did news on radio and television.
They had a radio news format called 20/20, which meant that 20 minutes after the hour and 20 minutes till the hour, you did about 2 minutes of news on the radio. Well, in between those, I would run out and shoot, film, and come back. So I wasn't at a story very long.
Good evening, I'm Larry Beaulieu, and this is the Channel 10 News Scene.
Larry Beaulieu has returned to the
Then Amarillo called.
Larry Beaulieu, whose years of experience make him a leader.
About $300 a month more money, and I was newly married and had a baby, and so I was like, yeah, that sounds like a good plan. So went to Amarillo and didn't have to do radio anymore, just did television.
It also took him away from Texas Tech before he finished his degree. For the next 5 years, Larry filmed and reported news stories, chased a tornado or two, and anchored the 6 and 10 p.m. newscast at KFDA in the Texas Panhandle.
I decided that I really wanted to kind of be more in control of the shape of the product of the news department's output and so forth. So I was looking for a news director's job.
This is Channel 6 News with Larry Beaulieu.
Well, a new desegregation plan for the Beaumont Independent School District will be submitted tomorrow to federal...
He found that job at KFDM TV in Beaumont. Larry Beaulieu, now 26, took over duties as news director and anchor for KFDM. What started as a lark at the Texas Tech campus had turned into a passion for news.
It's being there where the action is. You want to be there. I mean, as warped as it might sound in some cases, you know, you want to be there when something's going on, and you then want to develop the skills to accurately describe it and convey it to other people. But it's just that, you know, you hear the sirens and see the red lights. I think it started out as fun, part-time job, and then it began to, you know, broadcasting will get in your blood and grow on you. And so once you're infected with it, probably it's pretty hard to get over that disease. And so, you know, it just started out as a lark, and then it got to be, you learn more, get involved.
From the day Larry Beaulieu walked into the KFDM building in 1974, he was somebody's boss. First, it was a small news department. But the department would grow over the next decade. More people, more newscasts, electronic cameras, live capability, and advertising during the newscast was becoming the most important revenue source for stations across the country.
With Larry Beaulieu.
Good evening. Weather officials think that it might rain a bit longer yet.
But this is how Southeast Texans came to know Larry Beaulieu, the face of KFDM News.
About 1,000 workers at Bethlehem gathered to hear President Carter speak.
But he wasn't alone. He and Cecile Durant anchored newscasts together for 15 years.
Well, I've had to run my heater at home the last couple of nights, and I'm not complaining. I like it.
I didn't.
Well, a lot of people used to think we were husband and wife because we anchored together so long, you know. Are you Larry Durant? No, I'm not.
A Port Arthur fire captain.
Larry finished at Lamar University what he started at Texas Tech. He taught broadcasting classes while finishing up his other coursework. His degree is in mass communications. All the while, Larry was practicing another set of skills viewers wouldn't see, at least not directly, a set of skills that carried him through the rest of his career. He managed.
I think one word can sum it up: caring. Caring about people first and then what we do. And they're all intertwined, but I think truly Larry cares about his people.
You get that feeling from him all the time, that he cares about you as a person, and that makes you want to do your best for him. And his people will walk through fire for him.
Number one, he's honest, he's open, he's fair, always been right to the point with me.
Has been so nice to be able to work for someone that you know is always going to make a decision based on the facts and not any kind of emotions or prejudgments.
I think Larry, one of his strong suits has always been to let you try to work out the issue, whatever it may be, big or small.
If the worst thing that anyone can ever say about you in life is, you know, he's too nice, then you're not doing too badly.
I've been in general manager's office before, and it's just so formal and frightening for the most part. And so I go in there and I sit down, and I'm sitting there and I'm talking to Larry, and I was like, wow, you know, Nicole is right. He is like someone's uncle, just like everyone's uncle.
Larry's so true to himself. He is, what you see is what you get. He doesn't change. He doesn't put on airs for anyone.
If he needs to get involved, again, he's the most accessible guy around.
He trusts his people. He hires the right people, or lets us hire the right people for our department, and basically he'll leave us alone as long as everything's working correctly. However, if it's not, he'll be the first one to tell you all about it.
He runs a business and he manages people, but he cares about people at the human level, and not everybody in that kind of position feels that way.
The best boss I've ever had, and I've worked for my husband before.
When you're having trouble with something, or this is not quite working, or someone is not quite doing what you want them to do, or if there's something wrong with a certain piece of equipment and it's kind of being pushed aside, you know, you pull the Larry card out and usually that takes care of everything.
It's 1981, and Larry is about to get a surprise. It's his 34th birthday. It's the kind of thing people do when they really like you and they really want to embarrass you. Make a big production out of it, like having 2 photographers shoot it so they can later edit it all together.
Well, I'm overwhelmed, and I'd like everybody that's responsible for this to be in my office at 8 in the morning.
But change was coming. Larry had seen 2 general managers come and go at KFDM.
And at one point, one of those general managers said, you know, you really should go into sales if you expect to be a general manager someday. And I said, I didn't say I ever wanted to be a general manager of a television station. B, I don't like sales. So I don't do sales well. So, and at that point, the traditional career path to the general manager's office was through sales. And I've never sold a television spot in my career.
But Larry had managed people, budgets, and technology. When the general manager's job was offered to him in 1983, he took it. He was no longer in charge of KFDM News. He was in charge of the entire television station, and he would develop yet another skill. As general manager, he negotiated contracts for equipment purchases, for programs, and for people's salaries.
He didn't know anything about sales when he became station manager, so we taught him a few things, and he taught us quite a few.
He's a brilliant negotiator. He is a keen tightwad.
He has this one problem, though, in negotiating contracts with me. It's always this game of give and take and see how much he can get and how much I can give, and he's usually doing the taking.
Larry stepped off the anchor desk after moving to the GM's office. 5 years later, circumstances called him back.
We had an anchor team in place, and we had one of those people leave, and rather unexpectedly, we had another one getting ready to leave. And on the anchor side of the news operation, as you know, you like to have some tenure and some continuity, building a bench, if you will. And suddenly we didn't have a bench. And so I forget how long I'd been off the air, but we ran a quick research project, and some people still remembered my name and said they'd tolerate watching Channel 6 News if I'd help read anchor. So I went back on, and everything was fine.
Good evening, I'm Larry Beaulieu.
And I'm Cecile Burant.
And it certainly is nice to be back with you, bringing you the news here at 6 o'clock on Channel 6, and we're glad.
He's now the general manager, responsible for business decisions at the television station and the face of the evening news. Larry Beaulieu drew a line between his role as GM and his role as news anchor.
He's never, in all the decades I've been here, said, Scott, this is what we need to report, this is how we need to report it, I don't like the way this is written.
He has been very hands-off. He has not been back there running the newsroom all these years, although viewers think he does, which is fine with me. He gets the emails and the phone calls.
I joked that I could put on the script, good evening, I'm Abraham Lincoln, and Larry might read it, and then he'd go, wait a minute, that's not true. That isn't the case, but I say it only because it shows that importance of Larry letting people do the job of reporting the news, investigating the news, and there is no conflict.
I really do. I walk over there about 5 o'clock, and I get the scripts, and my joke is I ask what the big words are for today and how to pronounce them, and that's pretty much my involvement in the content of the news. I'm pretty much just a delivery person.
With Larry's role as the manager of one of the community's most visible businesses, and that business's most visible face, he was asked again and again to volunteer his time. He served as president of the Rotary Club, chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, campaign chairman for the United Way, and a director for the Foundation of Southeast Texas Goodwill Industries. And he's emceed countless events. He also served on the CBS Affiliate Advisory Board and served as president of the Texas Association of Broadcasters. Somewhere along the way, he became known as Uncle Larry.
It started out to being kind of facetious, you know, and I made the comment of, why don't you go ask your uncle, you know.
I think that there was a reference to Walter Cronkite as being sort of the most familiar person in people's homes for years. He almost felt like the familiar uncle or something.
And then one day, you know, we were calling him Uncle Larry behind his back, and he walked in the newsroom one day, and I said, "Hey, Uncle Larry," and he goes, "Hey, Brown," you know, and he just went on.
So there was sort of an Uncle Walter kind of a moniker going around, I think, in reference to him. And I think, now you ask James, he'll probably say that story isn't right.
But since that day, it's stuck. And he's always been Uncle Larry.
But that's my suspicion, is where James and Dan kind of came up with that. So, because I never refer to those guys as my nephews, I promise you that.
The man who came to KFDM shooting a 16mm film camera would lead the station through the greatest technological upheaval since color: digital transmission, HD TV, and newscast automation.
I've gone through at least two, I think maybe three general managers who I could say almost anything that was technical, and they would shut down and they'd say whatever.
Larry is very involved with every side of the business.
Kind of like it is with news, the fact that you can't pull the wool over his eyes in news because he's been there, engineering can't either.
Larry, however, was a ham operator and is knowledgeable about electronics, and he just basically hears me say this stuff and he says, "Well, what about this instead?" You know, okay, that sounds good, I'll check that one out.
When our company had to make the transition to digital television, he was in charge of the committee of engineers from all the television stations to select the equipment and all that kind of stuff. So he's very much involved in that.
I can't BS him like I could the other ones.
It's just very important to him, you know, and the technology changing, he loves that. That's like his thing.
If we've got an issue we need to resolve, I really like to try to ask the people who are doing it. I don't like to go, you know, I'm smarter than you are at your job, and I'm going to tell you how to do it. You know, you tell me how can we solve this?
He understands the complexities of it. He understands the frustrations with the new technology. As with somebody else, you know, another general manager, I don't feel would feel that way or know that much.
And the man in the corner office had to make the toughest decisions of all. In a business that used the word family in its mission statement, those decisions did not come easily.
We have to make decisions, and in today's economic environments, some of those are economic decisions, and those are tough. We do not have as many people working in this television station today as we did 10 years ago.
On more than one occasion, we've had to cut back the number of people who work here.
You could always look to Larry as the rock to lean on in those times. You always knew that he was going to make the correct decision.
Larry called a staff meeting and tried to explain in the aftermath what had happened and why.
But I've worried about him. I have worried that this has got to be eating him up. This has got to be tearing him up.
And what I recall from that was that he got so choked up, he couldn't finish his statement to the staff.
Because here we are trying to stay who we are, and the outside world is trying to close in on him.
He cares so much about the people who work here.
And you do look at him, and he walks down that hall with his head held high, and how are you doing? And he's always friendly, and we're going to be okay. You can't help but admire somebody like that.
What Larry Beaulieu accomplished in his life in broadcasting did not go unnoticed by the world outside of KFDM. Both Texas Tech and Lamar honored him as an outstanding and distinguished alumnus. Texas Tech put him in its Mass Communications Hall of Fame. The Texas Emmy chapter awarded him its Silver Circle Award. and the Texas Association of Broadcasters honored him as Pioneer Broadcaster of the Year. The corporation that owns KFDM selected Larry Beaulieu as the first recipient of the Freedom Communications Freedom Leadership Award.
Forgive us if we've been too inwardly looking. We can only hope that some of what Larry has given to us, he's given to you. We never want to reduce a man to a single word. There's husband, there's father, and more. For us here at KFDM, it's leader and more. One role of leader is teacher. Larry taught us in many ways, but always by example. All we can do is say thank you and do the same.
The thing that people who work here will remember is his humanity. The fact that he really cared about every individual who worked at the television station.
It seems like through the tough times, Larry is the one who's been our rock. He's been the father figure for all of us, and he's the one that has said, hey, no matter what happens, we're going to get through this together.
Larry leaves so many things behind. He leaves his thumbprint on everything that we do, I believe, in Channel 6. The news, how the community perceives Channel 6, whether it's in an informative situation, of sales, whatever. I think it has a high credibility mark.
I just hope that we can continue that so that we make him proud.
To the community at large, if you don't get to see him again much, if he's not on the air every night, I think they'll miss the fact that here's a guy who they trusted, they liked, they admired, and they let him in their homes every night because of that. And they're going to miss him coming to visit.
That's remarkable in itself, that one person can become the identity, and that the television station would reflect everything that he is.
And I think Larry's always believed in what he's doing here at the station, and then in turn, we believe in what we're doing.
The legacy that Larry Beaulieu leaves for KFDM is a challenge. Not just to continue, because anyone can continue, but to excel, to be the best that you can, so that KFDM is the best that it can be. That's Larry Beaulieu.
I'm on this freeway in the broadcasting career, and every milepost that approaches, it's another project, something else to accomplish, something else in our business that's changing that I want to be a part of. So I let a lot of exit ramps go by. I decided to take this exit ramp, and we'll see what's down there on the service road and where it leads.
Well, we're all sitting here wondering how do you replace him? You don't. I don't think you replace Larry Beaulieu.
And we will never have anybody else like that. And I'm going to miss it a whole lot. Aren't you?
That's our 6 o'clock report for tonight. Join us again at 10. Good night.